Hi, I'm Thomas Blug with BluGuitar, and now I'd like to show you the REMOTE1. REMOTE1 is the programmable foot pedal for AMP1. It gives you direct access to all the switching functionalities, plus it's MIDI and it's programmable. But first let me show you some of the basic features of REMOTE1. There are two modes. The first mode is called direct access mode, is when the blue light is off. So now I can see all the functionalities of the amp. I use clean channel, direct access, vintage channel, classic, modern channel. So you can choose one of the four channels and combine those channels with a boost and with the built-in reverb and activate the effects loop of AMP1. So you have control of the basic functionalities. Additionally, there is a programmable second master. And now I engage the master volume button here, and now this level control becomes active on the master volume. And this is a range of 10 dB. So I can reduce the output volume by 10 dB, which is enough to make a rhythm sound or a lead sound. And of course, any step in between here is possible. So you can dial in your favorite volume difference for rhythm and lead. And the next button here is the power soak, which activates the built-in power soak of AMP1, which can be controlled here. When I activate this button here, this level control becomes active on the power soak. Okay, so let's go back and show you about the basic how to make a preset. Here is my clean sound. I like to have some boost with it and some reverb, effects loop, give it a certain volume, let's say here. So there's still some room for the next preset. And now I make this a preset by hitting the store button, holding it. Now everything is flashing, and the next button I press will be the preset. So this is my first preset put on preset number 1. Okay, I could have the same sound with a different volume setting and put it on 6. So I have to go back to direct access mode. Now it shows me what my settings were: clean channel, boost on, reverb on, effects loop on, and master volume. And now I do another setting for rhythm. So I reduce. Okay. And hit store, hold it, and make it preset number 6. And let's have another sound. For instance, I'd like to have a vintage sound. Okay, go back to direct access, switch to the vintage channel, and maybe, just a matter of taste, get rid of the boost, get rid of the effects, and make this kind of a medium loud rhythm sound. So I like the setting vintage, only reverb and a certain amount of master volume, and put this on preset number 2. So press and hold store, hit number 2, this is my preset. Now I'd like to make another preset with the same sound and maybe have it as a solo sound. So go back, direct access, add the effects to this preset and have more volume on the master volume. Okay, store 7. So first I would like to show you what these presets sound like. So here's my clean tone. Remember, preset number 6 was lower volume. number 2 was the vintage tone with no delay. And number 7 was the same sound, but with the effects loop engaged and more volume for my solos, okay? So you want a preset with a different gain setting? No problem. I go to direct access mode, I hit and hold the boost button, now this blinks, and my level control becomes active on the gain, which means on the gain for all 4 channels separately. So I have a gain for the clean sound, I have a gain or volume, and I have one for the vintage channel and a separate one for the classic channel and the modern channel. So there's a big advantage now having separate gain settings for each preset. So here's my gain setting. So maybe I like that setting and make it a preset for my other guitar which has more output. So I hold store and select another preset number 3. So this is my Strat and this is my Paul, or this is more gain, this is less gain. So, and each preset has its individual gain setting, and mind, this gain is the same like master volume. It will reduce from the analog setting of the gain on the amp. This is kind of unique. So what you do is you put all your individual gains or masters, if you like that, into your presets, and you still have the analog control. So that's a big advantage in a live situation. So if you want less gain, you just deduct it here for all the sounds. If you need more, you just increase it on your amp. And you don't have to make it for every single preset. You still can if you want, but in a live situation there is no time to go into any separate preset, you know. The show will be over by then. So this is a very handy feature, I think, and this is why I chose this kind of setting or operation way of operating it with the REMOTE1 and AMP1. For each preset we have a MIDI out that sends an individual program change command on this MIDI out. You can use that command to switch external MIDI devices. Let's say you have a multi-effects unit and you have many effects there, and you make your programs inside your multi-effects unit, and then you can combine this to your remote settings. And then you just hit one button, and by hitting this one preset here inside the remote, you have all the separate switchings internally of AMP1 plus all the settings switched on your external MIDI device. So pretty complex setup, made very easy. One footstep does it all. And it doesn't stop here. We even have a thing called a looper kit, which is actually 4 true bypass relay loops, and we put this, you can put this inside the REMOTE1, and with this true bypass relay loops you can actually bypass external little pedals. You know, maybe you have experienced, if you have many pedals in front of the amp, which is the usual usage, that there is a lot of hum, or you still are too busy with your tap dance. So with this looper kit, you can have in each loop 1 or 2 pedals, and then you can switch them with the REMOTE1 and make it part of a preset. So while hitting the preset button here, your pedals will come in or get out of the loop before the amp, which makes the signal cleaner, or reduces the amount of pedals you step on. If you only have 1 or 2 pedals, you don't need that. You go classic, you just have your guitar into your pedal, next pedal, amp, that's fine. But if you have more than 2 pedals, it becomes kind of critical, because it takes time to switch all the pedals off, and it also depends on how much switching you do. But there are loop systems out there. I like them, I play them, and I thought it's time to do my own for my own pedal board, and I used the space inside REMOTE1, so I have less space used up on my pedal board. There's another special feature on the REMOTE1. It's called the power soak. Okay, the power soak actually is built into AMP1, but it's controlled via this REMOTE1. But first we have to make sure you understand what a power soak is. We have to go back to the good old days of the 60s, last century, when people play this kind of amps. They didn't have a gain, they didn't have a master. They were single channel amps most of the time, and they had a volume control. And when you cranked that volume control, you got some nice fat overdrive. The amp on 3 was always clean, but the higher you went, the more overdrive you got. And it's a very specific traditional sound for rock music. And the reason is, it was overdriving not only the preamp stage, the first tubes, it was mainly overdriving the power amp stage, because the amps were designed to be clean amps. And this unique kind of character of a power amp saturation is what I was looking for, and many other people also are looking for, especially in the studio. Back in the 80s, last century, people invented the so-called power soak, and this was kind of a resistor array which was deducting the power from the power amp stage. And so you had your 100-watt amp or 50-watt amp, whatever, and you brought in some resistors and changed the output power into heat. So some of the heat was dispersed, and the rest of the remaining power was getting to the speaker. The result was you had a lower volume, so you could survive in another surrounding. In the 60s, you were allowed to have 100 watts on stage and fill the room from the stage, but this is a problem today. So anyway, the power soak that I have on my AMP1 works in a different way. It actually reduces power inside the power amp section, but it's not using resistors, and it doesn't converts this kind of extra power into heat. This would cause some extra problems which I don't like to have. So the power is cut inside the power amp stage, so it doesn't get out of the amp. But first I have to show you what it sounds like. For instance, I have a clean sound, as you can see, and I will simply crank my master volume on the AMP1. I get it to almost full. Let's say 8 or 9. This will be pretty loud. So maybe you can hear how rich the overdrive is. It's the clean channel, it's very dynamic, and it has a lot of punch, different from preamp. And what I'd like to do now is bring the volume level down, or the power level, so to speak, down by engaging the power soak. Hit the power soak button. Now this is full power, 100 watts, and I will reduce it always down to the half, which is the minimum of the so-called stage mode. Stage mode is 7 watts up to 100 continuous with no sound quality loss. I show you how it sounds on that lower setting. And any kind of power amp is possible to dial in here. Now, if I cross this point at the middle, it switches automatically to the so-called home mode. The home mode gives you 2 watts downwards to 150 milliwatts. And this is kind of living room volume. For some neighbors, this is even too much because, you know, overdriven guitar is not pleasant to any ears. But here we go, 2 watts. Yeah, and now I can even bring it down to 150 milliwatts. I will go back to, let's say, 10 watts. And switch to a vintage channel. So you have both preamp saturation and power amp saturation. This will be a little bit too much, but it sounds very nice and creamy. This is what I like personally a lot. This kind of feature I like very much for recording. On stage I would be a bit careful about that. So you have to know that you will limit your volume with the power soak setting. So I would probably make 2 banks. One is for this kind of volume and another one for a little bit less. But you have to experiment before you go on stage with this. I see this more as a recording feature and nice to have, which gives you the full sound spectrum of AMP1 and not so much in live situations. Anyway, REMOTE1, the full package for your AMP1. It makes your AMP1 a programmable amp system with many more features. Enjoy.